Hello and welcome to Tea with Tolkien, an online community for the Hobbit at heart. We are inspired by the works, life, and Catholic faith of J.R.R. Tolkien and strive to encourage others towards a deeper love and understanding of Tolkien's legendarium by hosting a free book club, providing free resources, and by cultivating a vibrant and positive community online. This video is a part of our Silmarillion guide series, which offers a quick and easy-to-understand introduction to the events, characters, and world of the Silmarillion for first or second-time readers. This guide is also available as a free ebook, which can be downloaded at teawithtolkien.com/shop. To learn more about Tea with Tolkien or to support my work via Patreon, please visit teawithtolkien.com or patreon.com/teawithtolkien. Introduction to the Silmarillion. The Silmarillion is one of Tolkien's most challenging works, and yet also the most beautiful and important in my opinion. Many Tolkien fans, new and old, often feel intimidated by its depth and bewildered by its vocabulary, but it's been my goal to encourage, equip, and inspire Tolkien fans not only to pick up the Silmarillion, but to finish it as well. The deeper one dives into the history of Tolkien's sub-created world, the more the Silmarillion seems to be at the foundation of everything. Now, after writing The Hobbit, Tolkien's publishers had requested more stories about hobbits because it had done so well. While Tolkien agreed to deliver as requested, he then began writing the story which would ultimately become The Lord of the Rings. It was his great hope that he would be able to publish what he had written of the Silmarillion alongside this continuation of his Hobbit story. Now, for better or for worse, it was determined by his publishers that the Silmarillion was not fit to be published at the time, and so instead, Tolkien resorted to sneaking in as many references to the First and Second Age of Arda as he could into The Lord of the Rings. It was not until after Tolkien's death in 1973 that the Silmarillion was compiled, edited, and finally published by his son Christopher in 1977. Like many new Tolkien readers, I struggled through several attempts to read the Silmarillion for the first time. I had been captivated by The Lord of the Rings, and I had read it many times in high school, but I couldn't seem to make it past the first few pages of the Silmarillion, and eventually every attempt ended right around the beginning of the Valaquenta. It gathered dust on my shelf for years until I finally picked it up again about 7 years ago, but this time I took a different approach. Rather than attempting to understand the complexities of Tolkien's mythology on my own, I surrounded myself with as many resources as I could find, and approaching it with this mindset made all the difference. Thanks to a handful of Tolkien podcasts, the audiobook, pages and pages of handwritten notes, and many, many visits to Tolkien Gateway, I was able to finish the Silmarillion for the first time. Now, after many, many rereads, I'm so excited to be able to add my guide as a new tool alongside so many others. The Silmarillion is very different from The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, so it can be a bit daunting or disoriented if you aren't prepared. The narrative style is much more wandering, poetic, and reminiscent of older texts. Some have compared its style to that of the Old Testament at times. The events of the Silmarillion occur thousands of years before Bilbo finds the ring, so you'll find very few familiar faces or locations. In fact, it's in the Silmarillion that we witness the very creation of the world itself. Now, the Silmarillion is primarily a history book if you insist on placing it into a genre that looks at the various major stories of Arda from a very wide perspective. In a sense, there is less character development than in Tolkien's other Middle-earth tales, as in there is no single protagonist that you follow along on a journey throughout the whole book. Like in The Lord of the Rings, we have Frodo, in The Hobbit, we have Bilbo. There are a lot of characters who kind of journey through the story, and you will see everything linked together, but there isn't that one unifying character in the same way. Instead, many characters shine through as the protagonists of their own stories. Many of these are contained within a single chapter. It is my belief that one's first reading of the Silmarillion should be focused on simply enjoying the texts and not worrying too much about remembering every single detail. Once you fall in love with the stories of this book, you're going to want to come around for a second, more careful reading. So in this series, we are going to do our best to breeze through the Silmarillion in order to retain the general plot lines and essentially get to know the main characters. That way you can feel confident in coming back to the story and reading it again and really falling in love with the Silmarillion as I have. In our next video, we'll discuss the Waldman letter, also referred to as letter 131, as it sort of frames the Silmarillion in context and lets the readers in on the creative process behind writing the Silmarillion, as Tolkien did.